Hey, Tuesday morning, 8 o'clock, time for Trash Talk. Brandon's here. I'm here.
Yeah.
And lights, camera, action. I thought today we were going to talk about something I really think is fun, and it's one of those things that once you start, it kind of snowballs. I was watching some movies over the weekend, and I couldn't find anything current, and also I went and started watching some old retro movies and all. And I found one of my all-time favorites, A Few Good Men.
Ah, yeah.
Great movie, and I'm watching the whole movie, just waiting for that line with Jack Nicholson when he says, "You can't handle the truth." And
Yeah.
I
That
thought,
movie's great.
yeah, and I was thinking how many movie lines there are that we kind of use just in our everyday conversation. And "you can't handle the truth" is one that I think people use a lot in remembering that movie. And I got a list of them that are standouts. And I think that this is going to be one of those bobblehead shows, because when I mention it, somebody's going to go, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, like like who has not from time to time used the line, "Show me the money."
Oh my God. I know. Can you believe how big of a line that was from that movie?
I mean, huge. And it not only, I mean, from Jerry Maguire, but uh, that line was used by him, and it was also used by what's the football player? He was the one that actually said the line first, and he said, "Tell
Oh
me,
yeah.
t- tell me, Jerry, tell me, say it, Jerry, show me the money, show me the
Wait,
money."
why can't I remember that actor's name for the life of me? Cuba Gooding Jr. That's why.
Cuba Gooding, you're
Yeah.
right. And all
Yeah.
great line. And I will also say that movie is one of the few movies, I think, where there were two incredible lines that have been used from a movie. The other one, do you remember? It was Renee Zellweger. Uh, uh,
Yes.
he had an interaction with Renee Zellweger, and he comes in when all the women are sitting around talking and everything, and he says, "I'm here for my wife." Hello, he wants it. "Hello, I'm here for my wife. I want to talk to her right now." And she utters that line, "Shut up. You had me at hello."
Yeah. God. Yeah.
What a great line. And also, there were really two great lines from that movie. There's lots of lines from Casablanca and everything that people often quote and remember. uh but I think the other movie line that I remember, what you and you'll remember the movie is, I'll have what she's having.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You remember
Classic movie.
when Harry met Sally, and all Meg Ryan,
Yeah.
and all others, that when she's sitting and yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, I'll I'll have,
Those are
I'll have what
and
she's having.
those are some of the classic ones, like, like when you think about the classics like Dirty Dancing, no one puts baby in the corner,
Yeah,
that's a big one there too. And um there's so many of them in that era of movies. And then you can go even way back. You've got movies that have just multiples.
oh
I
yeah,
mean, when you look at movies like The Godfather, um, every single one of them, and, part three we like to forget, but one and two alone have some of the greatest dialogue ever
yeah.
written in cinematic history. And that's a big one, I know, but it's true. But the best one ever out of that whole movie is "Leave the gun, take the cannoli." I'm like,
Right. That
yeah,
one,
that
and
makes
and
sense.
and also, "I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse."
Yeah, yeah. We're gonna forgive you for that impression, but we're
Okay,
gonna
okay,
we're
okay.
gonna we're gonna forgive you for that.
"I'm gonna make him an
We're gonna
offer he
forgive you
can't
that.
refuse."
Uh, but I mean, there's so many, like even from Michael, Michael, when he talks about, you broke the whole Fredo speech,
Yeah,
you're my brother, Fredo. I love you. You broke my heart. And I was like, oh, yeah,
yeah.
just brutal, man.
And Clint Eastwood probably has had a lot of them that people have remembered. Go ahead, punk, make my day.
Yeah.
Dirty Harry and a few.
Dirty Harry and all those.
Yeah,
One of the modern ones that I like a lot, and some of you might not know this, some of you will. One of the modern ones I like a lot. I use it at work sometimes, believe it or not. When I'm trying to be whatever. And it's from Avengers. It's from the End Game. Thanos is sitting there at the end, and they all walk up to him, and he's just kind of like playing with this pebble, tossing this pebble, and he says, "You could not live with your failures. Where did that bring you? Back to me." And I'm like,
back to
"Oh
me.
my God." Like it's so because it's so riveting of what it means. Like
Yeah,
it's so just huge impact for the movie, but then on a psychological level. So yeah, I
yeah.
use that. I use that quite a bit.
And how about I'll be back?
Yeah, that's a classic.
Yeah,
I mean, just simple. If we're talking about Arnold Schwarzenegger,
yeah,
him in Kindergarten Cop, it's not the tumor. It's not a tumor.
it's uh, when you talk about the speech from my cousin Vinny, these two Utes,
The two Utes.
the
Yeah,
two
dude, that
Utes,
is my cousin Vinny is
Utes,
great. Well, if we're talking about Joe Pesci, we got to go with Goodfellas. How am I funny?
yeah,
Funny how? Like a clown? Do I make you laugh? How
yeah,
the am I funny?
or how about De Niro in Taxi Driver?
Oh yeah, yeah.
You talking to me?
That's a great one. That's a messed up movie,
You
man.
must be talking to me. I'm the only one here. You talking to me? I got one
That's
for
a
you
good
that
movie.
is worth thinking about because this was a line that was actually used in two movies. Originally, it was in Midnight Cowboy when Dustin Hoffman and what's his name, John, whatever, they're crossing the street, and a taxi's coming up the street, and and Dustin Hoffman smacks on the hood of the taxi, and he says, "Hey, I'm walking here. I'm
Oh yeah,
walking
yeah,
here."
yeah.
You know, fast forward a couple of decades, and we get to Forrest Gump. And when Lieutenant Dan is in the wheelchair and he on New Year's Eve and he and Forrest Gump are crossing the street and it's snowing and a cab pulls up, Lieutenant Dan from his wheelchair smacks on the hood of the taxi and he says, "Hey, I'm walking here."
I do remember that. I
and
do
and
remember
and
that.
use the same line. And as soon as I heard him say that line, I thought, "What? That's from Midnight Cowboy." It's amazing.
One of the other ones too. I mean, you got to look at Jaws. When they finally see the shark and he turns around, he's like, "We're gonna need a bigger boat." Like
Exactly.
that's
Yeah. We're gonna need a bigger boat. That's a good one. How about Toto? I don't think we're in Kansas anymore.
yeah, yeah.
From Wizard of Oz. Here's looking at you, kid, from Casablanca. Uh, Oh, how about from Star? What's the most used phrase you remember from Star Wars?
Well, I mean, we already know, Darth Vader. I mean, come on.
Yeah, what? And may the force be with you.
Well, that's true too.
That's a good one.
I think I quote Vader more than anything.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think every single one of Vader's lines in the original trilogy are super important. Like everything he says, like come to the dark side. Luke, I am your father,
Right.
Well, he never even says his name. He just says,
Have you
I
ever
am
said
your
that to
father.
your son?
I have, yeah, yeah. I
Luke?
told you I tried to convince him I was Darth Vader, but
Yeah,
it
Luke,
did
I
it
am your father. No,
it
for
didn't
real.
work.
I am your father.
He just told me today that he didn't believe that the Force was real. And I was like, yes, it is. He said, no, I was a baby and you held your hand out in front of the door at the store, they automatically open already, Dad. And I'm like, no, dude, like I controlled that. Like, because I still do it today. I do it when he's not even there. I'm 45 and I'm like, and I just let the doors open, So, and then he goes, and I go, dude, the Force works sometimes. He's like, well, you got to be really smart about it, I guess. And I'm like, well,
In honor of the cap that I'm wearing, one of my favorite lines, I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
that is a great line. Yeah, dude. And there's some comedy lines, like for me, like, I'm not going to quote them all, but like for me, like, there's so many shows and movies that have just some stellar comedic lines that I'm like, oh my God, like just simplicity, like we think about all these iconic movies, but I'm sure if you start talking to people about some of the movies or shows they watch, like The Office, oh my God, you could quote the entire season.
Right. Yes, Robin Williams probably was pretty big on a lot of those lines. Seinfeld came up
Seinfeld.
with a lot of those uh, 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 shows too. From Network, remember, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore.
I remember the line. I didn't watch it, but
I
yeah.
I mean I have used that and I've been in situations where somebody has said because they're upset about something, they'll say, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. And right away, I'm thinking, oh God, that network. That was from
That's Network. Yeah.
yeah.
I
But
could see that.
that's what I got. Well, yeah, we were talking about Forrest Gump. Life is like a box of chocolates, or we go together like peas and carrots.
Right. He had
Yeah.
everything in it.
Or and another one, you remember the big line from Sixth Sense?
Oh yeah. I see dead people.
I see dead people.
Yeah. That was a big one too. That was a
That
big
was
one.
kind of creepy. And of
Yeah,
course,
that was.
it doesn't necessarily have to have anything to do with Houston, but Houston, we have a problem.
Yeah, yeah, or ET phone home, that was great.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that. Um, I could still think of that moment, so
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. That goes back to Gone with the Wind. Wow. That's but it's fun to reminisce about those. And every time a new movie comes out, you have a tendency to walk out of the theater remembering a line or something from the movie.
that's what does it. You have this pivotal line, or maybe the line was just kind of normal, but it was a big scene that really brought together. I mean, again, I go back to Avengers Endgame at the end when uh Tony Stark goes to snap his fingers, and all he says is, I am Iron Man. And he snaps his fingers. Well, he dies at that moment.
Right.
Everybody remembers. I remember being in the theater watching that going, he's dead? Like, and it's just one of those moments. Um, yeah, there's some really, really classic lines in there.
It's funny. What I got a list here, and we've gone through most of them. Oh, how about from Cool Hand Luke? What we have here is failure to communicate.
So that is funny that you bring that up. So before I knew that movie, I mean I heard of it years and years ago, but before I watched it, I knew that line. It's from a Guns, so they use it in a Guns N' Roses song. At the very beginning, they play that.
Oh,
And
okay.
and so it always reminded me of Guns N' Roses. Finally, I was like, I gotta go watch this movie that they took this line from so I can put it in context and see if it connects. And it was, yeah, that's how I got into that movie.
And of course, love means never having to say you're sorry.
I don't remember that line.
That's from Love Story
Well,
with
that's probably why, because I have no
Ryan
idea.
O'Neal and what's her name?
I have no idea.
You don't watch those
No, I'm not watching.
rom-coms and
No.
that stuff.
Yeah, but when did that come out?
That was 1970.
Okay, so I wasn't around yet. I wasn't around for another 8 years. And then when I decided to come out, it wasn't on my to-do list. And it's still not on my to-do list.
And honestly, I think if I remember, that was like an hour and a half, an hour and 45-minute movie, and that line was the entire movie.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I don't
Yeah,
need to see
yeah,
it.
because
And some of those, sometimes I like to go back and watch those movies that people rave about. I don't care about age of movie. A movie's a good as long as it's good, you know.
but
But I ain't going back and watching that.
you go back and watch those movies and then say, well, what were they all raving about?
I've done that a few times. Look, I'm going to take a hit. I'm going to take a hit for this, and I don't really care. Gone with the Wind. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't care to get it.
Yeah.
I kind of like that he smacked her, but because she kind of deserved it. But look, I'm going to say this too. This is going to be a big one. Wizard of Oz. I love the idea of Wizard of Oz. And I like the book, the story, and
Yeah.
the idea, the way it switched into color. Like, oh my God, I understand it. But I don't get them. I just don't. I'm not into it.
Well, yeah, but that's because you haven't followed the yellow brick road.
I don't want to.
Uh, how about 3 words that sum up almost an entire series of movies? Bond, James
That's
Bond.
true. That's true. Yeah.
I mean, do you remember what movie that line was from?
Sean Connery.
Yeah, it was Sean Connery said it.
Yeah. Can't remember them.
1963. Doctor
Can't remember the
No.
movie. Dog. There you go.
Yeah, Doctor No. But I think that's one of those that it was that line was used first then, but it was used in almost every movie after that.
Yeah, I
Because
think it became a staple.
that became, yeah. Uh, one of the earliest here, Mae West said in 1933, the movie was She Done Him Wrong. She says, "Why don't you come up and see me sometime?"
I have no idea.
If you know
I'm
Mae
gonna say
West, that
that
was her most
that
that
was
one.
it.
And also, I'm ready for my close up, Mr. DeMille.
I know that one. I know that one, but
Uh,
I didn't know the other one.
that's yeah. Well, you mentioned Gone with the Wind. After all, tomorrow is another day. That sounds to me like a Yogi Berra line.
Yeah.
And yeah, but you're going to need a bigger boat. That was one that came up on 3 different lists that I had.
Yeah, that's a big one. People know that one for sure.
Yeah. So what else I got? Oh, the one word line from The Graduate. Plastics.
God, I've only seen it once.
When you mentioned plastics, that was the one word that was uttered to Dustin Hoffman in that movie. But how about, do you remember the line, Stella?
Yep.
Hey,
Like
Stella.
I say it every time I see a Stella beer. Like I can't help it. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, and then let's not forget, if we're talking about one of the greatest guys ever, Al Pacino. Let's not forget what he did in Scarface, man. I mean,
Yeah.
at the end, say hello to my little friend,
Yeah.
like that. Oh my God, man.
Yeah. And that line is used often too.
Phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Well, I don't know. We don't have a standard line for trash talk, do we?
We don't.
But I guess I would go to the line, go ahead, make my day.
You know what sucks about this? I mean, I love that both, this episode I had no idea we were going to do it, so this is really caught me off guard with this one. I wish I would have been able to do some research and think about it, because there's so many movies that I am missing now. I'm
Oh,
going to have to go back and go, wait a minute, what about this? What about this?
maybe we'll do a show and specifically just pull out like horror movies, the best lines
Or
from horror movies or something.
yeah, I think comedies too.
Yeah.
Like, good God, there's some classics,
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. We'll do that sometime. All right.
for
So
sure. Yeah,
we'll go off and make it a good day and use a line from a movie and go ahead and make our day.
absolutely. See you guys.
Bye.